Hello, I'm Rachel with Rachel Morgan Coaching, and today I have Cassie with me from Gratefully Cassie. If you just jumped on, I apologize. My internet was not working. Technical difficulties. Essentially, Cassie is a former speech language pathologist who left her 9-to-5 to start her own health and fitness coaching business and now teaches soul-led six-figure entrepreneurs how to scale their business using the power of the subconscious mind, universal laws, and spiritual principles, energetic alignment, and soul. Absolutely all good things, right? So, a hypnotherapist by training, a success coach, an EFT practitioner, and creator of the Success from Within Accelerator. I know that this will be an absolutely amazing conversation, one that I feel is very fascinating in my opinion, so I'm very excited to share this with you. In today's discussion, we're going to talk about why we get stuck and why things feel hard and how we can really tap into our subconscious identity and what that actually means and some of her best tips and tricks. So let's get her on here.
Okay.
We're here.
Let's try this again. Sorry about that.
I'm so sorry. Cassie, would you tell us a little bit more about you? Where are you from?
Yes. Hi, guys. I am from Ohio.
I love it. Yeah.
The exciting Midwest.
Yes. A state I have yet to visit, but hopefully one day.
I honestly, when people say that, I'm like, well, it's okay. I like it here because there's a lot of outdoorsy things to do in terms of hunting. I hunt, which is so funny. People are surprised because I am a spiritual business coach. But yes, we get all our food off the land. So that's why I like Ohio and my family's here. But yes, I'm from Ohio.
Conversation we'll have to have later.
Yes. Interesting conversation for sure.
Yes. So tell me, there's this feeling of like, this isn't working. I feel stuck. I'm not getting that life that I want. Or why is this not clicking? Like, I want to be the successful business owner. I want to, the six-figure goal is 10K a month is a really popular kind of goal, right? But some of us are not achieving that. So could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So especially if this is a pattern. Now, sometimes we're not achieving a goal because we haven't given it time, right? We haven't had patience. Like there's different reasons, but at the end of the day, if you've been in business for a while and you're trying and you've been working at it and you have the strong work ethic, you show up and you do the things, right? If you're still having this pattern of not being able to reach that income goal or not being able to reach that next advancement in your business, and especially patterns, that usually means there's a subconscious limiting belief there. And so the way I always explain it to people is I teach women how to reprogram or rewire their subconscious identity, because you can't create what you're not at an identity level. So the best way I always explain this is like lottery winners. A lottery winner may be let's say a guy wins the lottery, he makes $40,000 a year. He wins the lottery and he wins $1 million. Well, the reason most lottery winners end up broke again, or even less, even worse off than they started, is because their subconscious identity is, I am a person who earns $40,000 a year. Therefore, no matter what I do, or even if I win all this money, their subconscious mind, without them even really having any control over it, will find ways to poorly invest it, lose it, give it all away, push it all away, spend it. And they'll say consciously, I don't want this. Why is this happening? But it doesn't matter, because your subconscious mind is kind of like a computer program. It always runs in the background and it's in charge of everything you do. So we think we're making conscious actions and we think we're moving the needle forward, but really our subconscious mind is the one that's making all the choices. It's our loyal servant. It's whatever it's programmed with from the time you're born until you're like 7 or 8 is what it's going to play out. So when women see plateaus in their business, especially time and time again, that says, okay, there's something in your subconscious belief system, your subconscious identity that is not in alignment with what you think you want. Because you can say all day long, I want to be a seven-figure earner, whatever it is. But if at a subconscious level, you're not that, then you can't create it. So what I help women do is learn how to rewire that so they can be what it is they desire to have. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that is a really fabulous perspective and thing to think about. And I know when I first started, I had to actually ask myself, like, do I actually want this? Like, I was open, I wanted clients, and it was like, well, wait, do I actually want clients, right? So I I think questioning like what we're doing in the background and how that actually influences what we're doing is really important, and working with someone also that can help us. So
Yeah.
hi. Okay.
And I think it's important to know if you are like, if especially because I work with women who are already earning a decent amount in their business. They probably are close to 6 figures, but they're having trouble getting to that next level. So then what they do is they just work harder and they work harder and they work harder. And what they don't realize is there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. We just have to rewire some of those things that are keeping you stuck. And the problem really isn't you. It's the programs that you basically were instilled with from the time you were born. So that's
Right.
kind of very briefly.
Us and how we were grown up and the people that we surround ourselves with. And I think we forget how much that actually influences the actions that we take, the way that we think, and we're not always putting thought into that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we're not either. So traditional personal development just teaches you read the books and then go do the things and you'll get what you want. And it's not about the doing. It's not about the action. It's about the being, doing the doing. So you can take action, but if at a subconscious level, you are being in scarcity, you're being in lack, you're being in fear, that's going to affect your results. Absolutely. So that's why two people can do the same exact strategy and one will crush it and the other will flop, because it's about the energy as well behind what they're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marketing Munda, I hope I said that right, said, why when a particular client refuse, we keep on thinking day or two. I'm not quite sure what you're asking for. Maybe Cassie, you do. If you don't, if you could clarify that a little bit more for us.
A little confused by the question, but if you can clarify, I'd be happy to answer.
Yeah. And so I would love to know, once we've recognized, okay, maybe, for instance, using your example, I'm a six-figure earner, and I would love to get to that 7-figure earner mark. But I don't know what to do. Like, I recognize maybe my limiting beliefs are holding me back, right? Like, there's some ingrained thinking there that I haven't recognized, but I'm noticing that I have it. So how can people tap into that? How can they change that?
Yeah. So what we tend to do is we think that in order to change those things, we have to just work on our mindset. So that's when we start reading all the personal development books and we go down this personal growth path. And the reason personal change feels so hard is because you're trying to take your conscious mind, which is like 5% of, really less than 5% of your mind, and change life. And it's very ineffective. It's a very slow way to create change. What we actually want to do is just skip all that, go right into the subconscious, which is, think of your mind as like a computer. Your subconscious is a computer program that's running all of the things for you. We want to go right to that program and we want to rewire it. So basically, if you're struggling with a limiting belief, what I would do with my client is just reprogram those subconscious blocks, which is easier than it sounds. Maybe it sounds scary to people. It's totally not scary because you're always being programmed. We're being programmed, especially if you watch the news. I don't watch the news in my house. I haven't in years because it's literally just programming, but that's a whole nother topic. But it's being a conscious creator. It's realizing that we create our realities from the inside out. And we get to choose that and you know this because you did conscious studies. We can do that consciously or we can do it unconsciously by running by a program we've had our whole life. So there's a lot of different tools you can use to reprogram your subconscious. It's all about finding the one that really works for you or the few that really work for you. Because with my clients, I can do breath work, or I'm not a breath work facilitator. There are breathwork facilitators. That's one way to reprogram your subconscious. Tapping is another one, which I do. Hypnotherapy is my favorite, which I do, but not everybody resonates with hypnotherapy, and that's okay.
Right.
You can do energy codes work, which is actually clearing energetic blocks in your body, which is also subconscious reprogramming. If you work with neurolinguistic programming, that's a type of subconscious reprogramming. So there's tons of different tools that you can use where you can tap into your subconscious mind and rewrite those limiting beliefs.
Yeah, I really appreciate that you said it's so much more than just reading a book, right? That there's so many tools out there that you can use and strategies and techniques and more than I even realized, right? Like I know when we talk a lot about rewiring or changing our beliefs and thoughts, it's journaling, it's using positive affirmations, it's who you surround yourself with, right? And what to engage with. Like, do you watch this particular TV show or not? Like, how is that feeding into what you're feeling, right? And the lifestyle choices that you make. So, and it's more than that, right?
Yeah. And like those, you know, things like affirmations. I use affirmations. They
Sure.
can work, but they only work to the degree that you already hold that subconscious belief. So if you have an affirmation you're reading every day that says, I am a 7-figure earner, I am a 7-figure earner, you're going to know by the way you feel when you read that, how far you are from actually being in agreement with that affirmation. So affirmations work, but only once you've actually already implanted in your subconscious that belief, which, does that make sense?
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
feeling.
Yes.
Do I actually believe the words that I'm telling myself?
Yeah.
Do I wholeheartedly believe it?
Yeah, because otherwise you're just sitting there like basically lying to yourself. And I used to do that for years. I was like, why isn't this working? And it's like, well, because you're saying it, but instantly your reticular activating system, your mind is like, that's bullshit. That's not true. You know what I mean? So affirmations work, but you also have to believe in them at least, like, I would say get 90% of the way there before you start using that affirmation.
Okay, I really want to circle back to that because that is a really great point that you made about feeling it 90% of the way. But I want to make sure that we don't lose marketing Munda's like response. So they said, after rejection, I keep on thinking about rejection. So what would you do in terms of that type of like limiting belief?
Oh, that's such a good one and so common. So what that really comes to, what we look at when we're struggling with something like that, like a pattern of rejection, we want to get to like the root, because the root of a rejection pattern is self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
So at some level, we need to reprogram your self-worth so that you feel deeply worthy regardless of perceived rejection. And also understanding that rejection has nothing to do with you at all. Like, and that's a whole nother topic, but it's not related to you whatsoever. It has nothing to do with you. But yeah, I would say there's some self-worth work there that needs to be done. And with the women I work with, that's the first thing we start with is self-worth, because it's the foundation of everything else we program, because you can't attract into your business and life what you don't feel worthy of. And I would say 90% of people walk around with low self-worth. So this is a very common thing. It's like most people, you know, so they have low self-worth, whether it's around money or relationships or bringing in ideal clients. It can be all sorts of different things. That's the first thing, because once we have your self-worth programmed in, everything else actually becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think it comes down to confidence and self-worth and how we allow that word to show up and how we allow it to make us feel, like the energy that we give that word, right? Now, I will say from a sales perspective real quickly, oftentimes we take that rejection really personally, and I think that's also getting at, but the rejection is actually at what you're offering. It's not at you. And that's a mindset shift a little bit, right? And the energy apply to that. And if people are rejecting you, and maybe how you're pitching it or how you're talking about your offer, maybe it's a little shift in that verbiage that you're using potentially. I mean, there's so many factors that can go into why someone has rejected you and how to handle it. But, you know, I always see rejection as not a failure, but a learning opportunity, because there's from that you can do next time, right?
And ultimately, a great question to ask yourself would be, what am I making this mean? What am I making this mean? Because you're attaching some sort of meaning to that quote unquote rejection, and you're making it, like Rachel said, you're making it mean something about you. And so what we have to, and we all do this as entrepreneurs, trust me, we all start this way. We all have to learn, okay, I don't need to make it mean anything about me.
Right.
I'm separate from my business in a lot of ways. I am not this offer, you know, or whatever it is you're selling.
Right. Most people make it about them. Even the client that you're talking to makes it about them, right? So it's a really human nature. So I think just letting go that it's actually not really about you. It's about what you're, like, the product or the service that you're offering, right? They're rejecting that. And so use that as an opportunity to make it better, or reflect on the power that you're giving that word or that feeling. Like, why do you feel that way, right? So that's obviously a conversation. Someone could reach out to you, I'm sure, and chat with you about that. I'm also open to if anyone wants to send me a DM and have more of a conversation too.
Yep.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm reading the comment. You're good, Rachel. You can go.
Oh. No, well, okay. So gratefully, Mama Tay, you said, but makes sense. It's a subconscious, and those traumas from childhood are causing blocks. I just realized this when you just said it, but it creates all these blocks for my business. Yeah.
Yeah. So what they do is they work on their business and they ignore themselves when your business is an extension of you. And so it's not you, but it's an extension of your energy, and it can only expand to the level your energy has expanded. And if you have blocks, whether it's subconscious blocks and energetic blocks, they're actually the same thing, because what's blocked subconsciously also is blocked energetically in your body. So yes, whatever you have, whatever traumas you haven't dealt with, whatever inner work you haven't done, you cannot move forward until those things are also healed. Or what will happen is you can get so far, but eventually what got you here is not going to get you there. And that's when entrepreneurs, end up looking for the kind of work I do, because they're like, okay, I've been stuck in my business, spinning my wheels, working my butt off for a year. I can't get past 80K, or I can't get past 100K years. What the hell am I, or even getting their business off the ground. Like, you have to do the inner work throughout the process. So what we tend to do is just focus on action, action, action. But that's because we don't want to sit with our feelings and we don't want to look within because it's uncomfortable. But I always tell people, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek, meaning where you fear to look is exactly where your answers are. So you have to be willing to sit with that discomfort, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but I promise on the other side, you're going to feel so much better. And then your business will start moving. You'll be like, oh my God, I removed the block and everything's different,
Oh, what a powerful quote. And okay, I feel like you'll really resonate with this. This is something that I learned that I really wholeheartedly believe in as well. And it's the same level of consciousness that created it can't solve it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's from Einstein. Right. And so I think and that's exactly what you're talking about, is that we have to shift how we're doing things in order to get different results. Right. And so maybe reflecting on how you're feeling and the energy and changing that and working on that. And being uncomfortable. I mean, gosh, that's how we grow, is the uncomfortable moments and putting ourselves out there, right?
Yeah. And because a problem can't be solved at the level it was created, that's why having a coach like Rachel, or hiring somebody, if you need help with sales, you're the one who's making that problem. Like, you're the one who is stuck. You can't solve a problem when you're the one who made the problem. And that's why it's so important to have coaches. I'm sure Rachel always has a mentor. I always have a mentor. It doesn't matter how you never get too good to grow. Like, I'm always going to be a student, because there's always going to be new levels, new devils, and I can't fix the problem when I'm in the problem. Like, that my thoughts are the problem, or I have the block. So I think having outside help is so, so, so important.
Oh, that was really well said. I love that. Absolutely. I mean, there's no shame in asking for help and new ideas and growing in different areas, right? Like, everybody can teach you something, and being open to that, right?
Yeah.
I did want to circle back really quickly. I know I'm so fast on this topic, but you had
talked today, so you're good.
No, okay, good. So one thing you had mentioned is that when we say positive affirmations, that, it's one thing to say it, it's a different thing to feel it. And when you really feel it that 90% of the way is when you know that it's like you've moved this block, like you've changed the energy of that. I'd love to know, what are your best tips to do that? And how do you know you're at 90%?
Yeah. Sometimes it's just a changing of words. So affirmation, let's say you have affirmation of, I helped 3 new clients this month. Okay. So you say that to yourself every day, but you feel like that's really far away. And when you say that, you can, this is the other thing I help people do, is drop into their body, because we try to grow our business from our head, as you know, with consciousness studies, that's not really going to work. You have to actually learn how to drop into your heart energy, which is 5,000 times stronger. The energetic field of your heart is 5,000 times stronger than your head. So we have to learn to drop into our heart and feel things. So if you say an affirmation, but you feel, just drop in and feel how it feels. If it feels like bullshit and your body's rejecting it energetically, then that tells you it's not going to work. So sometimes you can just switch the language. So instead of saying, I helped 3 new clients this month, you could literally say, I allow myself to receive 3 new clients this month. That could feel different, feel it out. You could also say, I'm the kind of person who easily attracts 3 clients a month. So sometimes it's just changing the wording. And I think the really powerful thing with affirmations is putting the word allow in there, because, we think we have to force things, but so many times it's actually the opposite. What we really need to do is allow in what we've already for and what we've already been working for. So Sometimes it's changing the wording. You know, one more example I'll give you is, because I'm a health and fitness coach as well,
Yeah.
is if somebody's like, every day they say, I hate my body, I hate my body, I hate my body. But then they affirmation, I love my body, their mind is instantly going to reject that, and it's not going to reprogram or get to their subconscious. So instead of saying, I love my body, start moving up the scale with, I have a body. I have a body. And then once you're comfortable with like, I have a body, you can say, I'm grateful for my body. I might not love my body. I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful for my body. And then you can start to move up that scale to things that are more positive and like reprogram in that way.
That is such a great way to think about it. And it's really, you're not necessarily saying something different. It's just the way that you use your words, the energy of those words, say them, right? I think you'll love this. I with my old team, I was really big on positive, just talking positively, because I think that when you have more of that language in your vocabulary, you start to feel it more, like what you're saying. And so whenever someone said something that wasn't so positive, maybe they were like, oh, this customer was so annoying, right? Like, people say that. I would say, okay, let's reword that in 3 different ways. How can we fix that, right? Or maybe if they went, oh, I can't believe I messed up, I'm such a failure, I would say, okay, well, let's reframe that, right? Like, how can we be more positive? So maybe it was like, you know, I just got to learn something that I didn't know, right? And so really changing the way that you view it and say it, you start to feel it more. And so it became such a joke in my store that when anyone said it, we were like, okay, 3 things, go. And now I bring this into my relationships with my friends and my husband and even my clients. I'm like, okay, I didn't like that. Let's reframe that in 3 different ways. And there really is like power in that, and how you feel and how you show up and the energy that you have, and how like you just feel it more.
Yeah. Yeah. You get to choose what things mean. So what you're saying is you pick the interpretation that feels better to you, because nothing has any meaning except for the meaning you give it. So I love that. That's awesome. And also on an energetic level, words are vibration. So words have a vibration that literally attracts what you're talking about. People don't really realize that, or they think it's woo. Like, it's not, it's science. You know this. It's just a fact of life. Everything is energy. Like, that's all there is. That's all anything is ever made of. And that includes the words we speak. So if you're constantly finding yourself saying like just negative words over and over, like all the time, spewing negativity, like that's literally creating and manifesting in your life, which goes into a whole topic that's totally separate. But yeah, I agree.
But it's so true. And I see this a lot. I see this a lot around money and the behaviors we have around that and how we allow it to show up in our life and the energy. And I mean, it's even sales too, like the words that you use with clients and the energy that they carry when you're talking to people. I mean, words are so important, and communication.
Yep.
So I love it. Everything's, I'm like, yes. So one more thing I wanted to really just touch on with you, if you don't mind. You had talked a lot about hypnotherapy. It's a piece of your expertise that I feel you really flourish in as well. And yet hypnotherapy can come with a feeling of like, are you trying to trick me or manipulate me? And I mean, we both know that is definitely not the case. And I would love if you could kind of explain what that is and why you've chosen to use that in your coaching. And yeah, all the things about hypnotherapy.
Yeah. So when I work with my clients, I give them a lot of reprogramming tools, because I want them to pick the one that feels the best for them and is most effective. For me, hypnotherapy is my absolute favorite. I just love it because it's so quick. But when I first was introduced to hypnotherapy, I was terrified, and I only did it out of complete desperation. So long story short, I had like chronic foot pain for years, and nobody could figure out what was wrong with my feet. And finally I was like, I'm just desperate. So I went to a hypnotherapist, and they explained to me, which I totally understand now, how emotional trauma, when it's not dealt with and it's not released, is held in the body and manifests as physical pain. So I did a session with her for an hour and a half. Next day I was healed. My feet haven't bothered me since. And this was over 2 years ago. So I knew the power of it. And what I want to say is, if you're afraid of hypnotherapy, it's because of what's shown on social media. I think there's even a new show on Netflix that just came out, like where a hypnotherapist brainwashes somebody, like, and I'm like, this is why people are afraid of it, because of all these misconceptions. The reality is all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So as a hypnotherapist, I'm not hypnotizing you. You're actually hypnotizing yourself. My only job is to guide you through the process and help you relax. That's it. So you're hypnotizing yourself. And also, your subconscious mind is highly, highly ethical. So it will never, ever, ever do anything that would go against your ethical system. So I can't hypnotize you and be like, okay, go push an old lady in front of traffic. Because number one, you're going to snap right out of hypnosis and be like, who the hell are you? But number two, your subconscious mind will absolutely shut that down. It's not even a possibility. So you cannot program somebody for something that's not within their ethical, way of being. And the last thing I'll say is it is no different than meditation. So if you meditate at all, or you've ever tried meditating, the brainwave state is exactly the same. They're totally safe. The only difference is when you're meditating, your intention is a little bit different than with hypnosis. With hypnosis, you're reprogramming, rewiring, getting rid of beliefs. With meditation, you're typically silencing the mind or connecting with spirit. So yeah, I'm always like, well, do you meditate? Because then you basically hypnosis. So there's nothing to be afraid of.
I've never that way. What a great comparison to think. It's being really intentional in what you're doing. I think regardless of it's quieting the mind or limiting beliefs, it's still like having that second to really like be intentional.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Totally, everybody.
We all need a little bit of that, or we need right?
Because you've never heard of somebody being like, oh my God, I got stuck in hypnosis. I was stuck in hypnosis. I had to go to the emergency room. Like, what? It's not, you know what I mean? Like people are, that's often a fear is like, what if I get stuck and I never wake up? You would be surprised how many people think that. And I'm like, that's not even a possibility. That would be like getting stuck in meditation or stuck in sleep. Like, unless you're in a coma, which is different. I guess that's different than sleep.
But, right. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I've never thought of that one, but I think there is that, how are they going to manipulate me? And am I going to be doing things that are unethical? And you did a great job of explaining that our body really does stop us, and that comes into play. And it's just a technique to help you rewire and to your limiting beliefs, right? Like what we're talking about.
Yeah. And when people, like, if you've ever seen a stage hypnotist, when people go on stage and like cluck like a chicken, and the reason they do that is because they are the kind of person who would do that anyway. They're the kind of person who's probably really outgoing and they think it's funny. And like, that's part of their personality. That's why they're always like, okay, go sit down. And you can go sit down, because those are the people who aren't really going to hypnosis and are not the kind of person who would do that. So yeah.
Interesting. I've never thought of it that way. This is a whole nother conversation we can definitely have.
Yeah. Sorry. I can
no.
For you guys.
So fascinating, and I can just tell so many people, we're all getting so much from this, and it's an area that I don't know anything about hypnotherapy, but of course, like my background being in consciousness studies, like I've studied the mind and neuroscience and how thoughts and quantum theory and all of the energy and all of that, so that part is very fascinating. But I still learned something from you today, so I appreciate that.
Awesome. So glad. Fun.
Now, is there anything else that we left out that you definitely want to share on rewiring your limiting beliefs that maybe we didn't touch on?
I don't think so. I think the last thing I'll say is it's really important that people understand they're not broken. I think so many times we're like, I need fixed. And that's not what it's about. You don't need fixed. What you need to do is remember who the hell you are. You already have everything you need. You're already whole. And so when I work with clients, what I'm actually doing is shedding all the layers of what they're not, so that they can be more authentically who they are. I'm not fixing anything, because there's nothing broken.
That is so beautifully said. I think that there is a lot of fear of like failure, and when we're not doing something right, the rejection feeling, right? And the I'm doing everything wrong and I'm a bad person as a result of that. Mm-hmm. And not a good energy or feeling to have and hold on to. And so I think when we feel that way, we make some pretty emotional decisions that we haven't recognized. Like that's when we become salesy, right? Or that's when we maybe aren't hitting the goals that we had hoped because our mind is not there. The energy is not there, right? And so it's
sorry.
No.
I struggle. I'm doing everything and I'm afraid of failure, or I'm doing everything wrong. That's inner child work, because what you have to look at is, would you ever go to your 6-year-old and tell them they're doing everything wrong because they failed? And would you ever go to 6-year-old 6-year-old Rachel, for example, and be like, you're a failure, you're doing everything? No. Yet we talk to ourselves that way, and it's completely, it just becomes habitual. And so that's something that's actually pretty easy to reprogram, because it's a lot of the inner child healing. But yeah.
No, it's interesting. I think as we get older too, I know like the 20s, 30s, 40s, you start reflecting a lot more on how you were brought up and what you believed and how that's influenced the decisions that you've made up to this point. And, I will say, I feel in this space, oftentimes when we promote our offers and things, we're like, you're not doing this, therefore you're not good, right? But I'm going to help you be good if you sign up with me. And that's not a like good feeling either, because then it feels like everything you're doing is wrong, right?
Yeah. 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 Oh, yeah. I just unsubscribed from somebody's email list. A wonderful person, but yeah, every email was like made me feel like you're somehow telling me that what I'm doing, like you're better than me, and I don't like that feeling, and that's not true. I also know that's just not true. And so, yeah, I think it's powerful to when you do pick a coach to work with or a mentor, make sure that they're in the work with you and they have like humility and they're not making you feel like you're somehow broken. I just think it's so important that we don't think that, because it's just not true. So
Yep. And it's such a shame too that you felt like you had to unsubscribe or to I did think you probably really liked this person and what they're putting out, but you're right. Feelings are really important. And I always say that people don't remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel.
yeah.
Right? And it's very important that you understand how the words we use make people feel. And like you said, like the energy that they put out and how they land on people.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
agree.
so,
Oh,
aw, that's all the reasons I chose you, Cassie. Aw, I love
you're sweet, Taylor. Love you, girl.
Aw. Well, Cassie, how can people get to know you? How can they work with you? Where are you at?
Yeah, so I have a podcast. If you are into spirituality, energy work, any of these things I've talked about, it's The Magic in Your Business. It's on iTunes, Spotify, so that's available. And then the main way right now is my Instagram here, gratefully_Cassie. I have two different businesses. So I'm a health and fitness coach, and I help women start and scale their own health and fitness business. And then I also help women who are already established. Like you said, they have a, close to 6-figure business and they want to go to the next level, but they want to do so with their spirit, their soul, by not totally sacrificing their joy and well-being, and through understanding how to use their energy, understanding how to use their aura, reprogramming the money blocks, things like that. So that's another way to work with me. So yeah, just reach out on Instagram though, because I like making friends. So just be like, hey, what's up? And I'll chat with you.
Yeah. I can attest to, I've listened to your podcast, and it is definitely one to listen to if you're looking for some new podcasts to gain information from. Definitely check it out. I highly recommend it. Cassie is so sweet. She's one of the first people that I've met in this space, and we've been able to connect this past year so much more, and definitely a bright person to have in your feed and get to know. So I highly recommend, check her out. She's amazing.
Thanks, Rachel. Thank you for having me on, and I can't wait to connect with some of you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. You as well, and thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Right.
Bye.